In this lesson, we will learn how to work with editable motion trails. So a motion trail is a visual printout of the path an animated object travels along. Now what's great about this is we can actually go in and tweak these paths to, let's say, correct arcs, just to make sure that our poses look correct at a certain time. So let's go ahead and take a look at how to work with editable motion trails. We'll actually use this tool on both legs. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll go to our Show menu, Show Nerves Curves, and we'll go ahead and start with the left leg. So with that control selected, we'll now choose Animate, Create Editable Motion Trail. Go into the option box. These are our default settings here. Let's go ahead and make sure we are using the default by making sure we choose Reset Settings. And I'll show you that we can actually access these options from our channel box. So no worries, let's go ahead and choose Create. And you'll see instantly we have the trajectory of this object drawn out. These dots here represent our keyframes. So if we want to adjust the keyframe, let's say around frame 6, what we do is go ahead and highlight that key. We can go ahead and grab our Move tool now, and we can go ahead and start to reposition this key. Let's take a look at what happens in the graph editor when this is tweaked. You'll see that Maya is actually going to go in and adjust the function curve based off of wherever we have repositioned this. And we're not retiming this at all, we're just adjusting the position at that time. So that's basically how that works. We can go in and actually create keyframes on these trajectories if we would like. I'll minimize the graph editor and show you. So if we wanted the leg to come up a bit higher on about frame 7, we can turn on Modify Keys. Let's go ahead and put in a value of 1, or simply type in on. Now we can go ahead and click where we'd like that keyframe to be created. Take a look, a keyframe has been added. Let's go ahead and turn off Modified Key so we don't add any more. And now we can go ahead and highlight that key on 7 and bring it up a bit more. So take a look, instantly we're able to fix the arc in this animation. We can go through and start to make a few changes here and there until we have exactly what we would like to see. Great. Now, if we were to take a look at the top of the channel box at some more settings we have, we could actually adjust some of the display settings of this motion trail. We can go ahead and adjust our thickness if we like. We can adjust the thickness of our keyframes. Now, what do pre and post frames do? Well, these will show us the trajectory before time or after time, depending on what we set our value to. So you can see by default, when these are set to 0, we see the entire trajectory. But if we were to set the pre-frame to 2, now we see 2 frames before our current time and on. If we were to set our post frame to 2, again, we're going to see 2 frames after time. So that's how that works. Now, pinning. This is really useful when we're working with multiple objects. So if I were to go ahead and take the right leg and create a motion trail from it, let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and go back to the left leg, go back to its motion trail. We can just go ahead and select the motion trail or a keyframe, and we can now go ahead and turn off pinning and take a look at what's going to happen. Once we deselect, no longer do we see the trajectory of that object. So you can see the differences between the two. If you're working with several trajectories, you might want to turn off pinning so that you can see your trail once you select the object, so things aren't visually confusing in your scene. Now let's go ahead and focus on the right leg, because you can see we have a bit of linearity that we'd want to clean up. Now we can work with tangents on these keys, a really neat feature. So if we were to go ahead and take a look at the keyframe right here on frame 6, we can go ahead and turn on tangents. You'll find the 2 tangent options right underneath the increment channel. So I'll go ahead and set both to 1. And you'll see now we can start to tweak the tangent. We'd simply go ahead and highlight it, and we can use our Move tool to drag it around. And even though we don't have a keyframe on the time before and after this key, we're still able to create curvature, which is really exciting. Almost as if we would in the graph editor using a weighted tangent. But this isn't to be confused with weighted tangency. let's take a look at what has happened in the graph editor. We'll go ahead and take a look at our translate Y. And watch what happens as we start to drag this out. You can see that we're still just tweaking the tangent, but there's no weighted tangency. Now, watch what happens when we apply weighted tangency. So what I'll do is go to the curves menu, which is weighted tangents. And now we can go ahead and work with a feature called beads. You'll see if we were to go to the in-bead channel and set that to 1, no longer can we work with our tangents, but we can still go in and grab at these beads and pull them to adjust our spacing. And you'll see that when we are working with one bead, we cannot work with the other. So if I were to go to the out bead and set that to 1, you can see how Maya's automatically turned off the in bead. But no worries, again, we can still go in and adjust our spacing here just fine. Beautiful. So that's a look at how to work with Editable motion trail. So at this point, you'd go through and figure out what would be best for you. If you would like to work with tangents instead of beads, you most certainly can. You can go to your tangents and turn those back on. We'll still go in and remember those settings that we've set. Then you could go through and start to tweak a few points here and there until you have the exact look that you'd like to see throughout the sequence. So you can see that there's a bit of pulling here on frame 8. We can always go ahead and drag that keyframe down. How exciting is that? Here we have a key on frame 10 that we can go ahead and just drag out a bit to fix the arc here in our trajectory. Right, so we could just go through and start to tweak a few things here and there, working with our really neat 3D function curve until we get the look we like. And then once we're satisfied with this, it's just a matter of grabbing that motion trail and hitting the delete key to remove it. I'd also like to point out, if I were to undo that, that you can go in and delete keyframes. So we have that option, but that's probably not a good choice in this case. I'll go ahead and bring that keyframe back, and I'll just go ahead and highlight the motion trail and delete that. You'll see we still have the motion trail on the left leg, so we can keep those along the ride as we start to build our animations and polish them. And then once we are satisfied, we can then just go ahead and delete them, and Maya will preserve the animation, making motion trails a very wonderful tool to use for correcting arcs.